Hello students, I am Dr. Priyanka Thakral. Today, I bring you a learning episode in BSc Forensic Science on behalf of content writers Dr. Vimal Rar and myself on an important unit which is Forensic Chemistry Part 6. In this lecture, we will study the chemistry of polymers and biopolymers. You will also be acquainted with the knowledge of collection, preservation, handling and forwarding of biopolymers as well as synthetic polymers. And we will wind up this episode with examination of biopolymers and synthetic polymers. So, let us start our episode with a look at what we are going to learn today. Introduction to polymers, and then we will move to the chemistry of polymers, following which we will take up in detail biopolymers and synthetic polymers. With this, we will then discuss collection, preservation, handling and forwarding of biopolymers and synthetic polymers, and finally, the last section will be examination of biopolymers and synthetic polymers and then conclusions. The adoption of certain chemical assemblies for polymers has far accomplished real world uses, since it has directed to know how and why the physical and chemical properties of polymers change with the nature and the type of the monomers from which they are manufactured. This indicates that to an extent significant mark the functions of a polymer can be custom made to specific real world uses or applications. Environmental concern is causing away from artificial or petrochemically resultant products, whereas monetary issues are dragging back from frequently more exclusive green options. This paradox is what fuels research into substances and products whose properties fulfill environmental and economic requirements. Polymer is a massive particle designed by intermolecular connection between similar or dissimilar kinds of minor molecules referred to as monomers. For example, polyethylene is a polymer of monomer ethylene. Polymer is a great molecular mass particle manufactured by linking up of two or more small molecules referred to as monomers. They are a key component of our diet such as starch, protein, etc. Our dresses, polyesters, nylons, etc. Our houses, wood, cellulose and so on, and our physiques, protein, nucleic acids and so on. However, presented later in the sequence of resources, polymers live in a chief position and essential point in our resources map currently. The applications of polymers in the production of plastics, dishes, cups, kids models, wrapping bags, artificial wear resources, vehicle tires, machineries and seals, electrical insulating resources and engine portions has totally revolutionized the everyday life. Certainly, the polymers are the support of four chief productions, that is plastics, elastomers, fibers, paints and varnishes. In use views, presentation features and in belonging varieties and assortment, they provide originality and adaptability. Polymers are extensively involved in molding the present day human civilization and culture. The term polymer is invented or taken from two Greek words, poly indicating numerous and mer indicating component or share. An insignificant simple chemical unit seems to repeat itself into a very large figure of periods in the assembly of a polymer particle or a macromolecule. The simple molecular classes from which a chain polymer molecule may be attained is referred to as a monomer. The wide variety and diversity of natural, semi-synthetic and synthetic polymers known currently exhibit wide diversity of properties. Some appear rigid, hard, strong, dimensionally stable, while others appear soft, flexible, largely extensible under the effect of stress. Some show ready solubility and fusibility, while others appear more resistant to heat and solvents and may appear even insoluble and infusible. All such properties may vary from a polymer of one type to a polymer of a different type. They may even vary between samples of similar kind of polymer depending on molecular weight and molecular weight spreading or on how they were synthesized or thermochemically treated before being tested. Depending upon the property ranges they exhibit, the polymers can be categorized as rubbers, plastics and fibers. Factors that influence the polymer properties are molar cohesion, polarity, molecular weight, crystalline nature, inclusive molecular symmetry, both recurrence symmetry and architectural symmetry, linearity and non-linearity of chain molecules, thermo-mechanical account of the polymer, and temperature of observation. Besides constructive symmetry, recurrent symmetry too is important in identifying the total forces of magnetism between chain molecules, particularly when oriented. Now, let us talk about the types of polymers. There are numerous means of organization of polymers established on some superior concerns. The subsequent are more or less of the general organization of polymers. Classification according to the origin. Under this type of classification, there are three subcategories. Number 1, natural polymers. These polymers are originating in plants and animals. Example, proteins, cellulose, starch, some resins and rubber. Next, semi-synthetic polymers. Semi-synthetic polymers. Cellulose byproducts as cellulose acetate such as rayon and cellulose nitrate, etc. are the common samples of this subgroup. Third in the category is synthetic polymers. Synthetic polymers are diversity of artificial polymers as plastic, for example polyethylene, synthetic fibers, for example nylon 6,6, and synthetic rubbers such as Buna S are instances of man-made polymers extensively used in day-to-day life and in industry. Now, let us come to the organization conferring to the nature of the restating organizational elements. Polymers are separated in two wide ranging groups. Number 1, homopolymer. A polymer fashioned from only one type of monomers is known as a homopolymer, for example polyethylene. Then we have copolymer. In case of a polymer would have more than one type of repeat units in its chain molecular structure, it is known as a copolymer. Copolymers of different properties or property ranges are readily produced by copolymerization of selected monomer pairs or even of more than two kinds of monomers together by variation of their molar proportions. It is possible to obtain copolymers of varied comonomer arrangements and molecular compositions, thereby making it possible to derive a wide variety of application prospects for them dependent on the infused property variations. The third set of classification according to structure of the polymers. Here we have linear polymers. These polymers contain extended and conventional chains. The instances are high density polyethylene, polyvinylchloride, etc. Then we have branched chain polymers. These polymers cover branched chains having some divisions, example low density polyethylene. Then we have cross-linked or network polymers. These are typically designed from bifunctional and trifunctional monomers and comprise solid covalent bonds between numerous linear polymer chains, example bakelite, melamine, etc. Fourth set of classification according to the mode of polymerization. Polymers can also be categorized on the basis of method of polymerization into two subgroups. Number 1, addition polymers. The addition polymers are made by recurrent adding of monomer particles owing double or triple bond. For example, the development of polyethylene from ethene and polypropylene from propene. The stages of addition polymerization comprise number 1, initiation, frequently complete the application of free radicals. Number 2, propagation, radicals link to produce bigger radicals. Thirdly, termination, that happens when a particle is fashioned that will not have an unpaired electron. Now, then we have another category as condensation polymers. The condensation polymers are shaped by recurrent compression reaction among two dissimilar bifunctional or trifunctional monomeric units. The monomers are coupled with each other by several types of connections like an amide bond, and a particle is eliminated in the process, which is usually water molecule. This is the type of process applied to form nylons and silicons. In these polymerization reactions, the removal of insignificant particles such as water, alcohol, hydrogen chloride will happen. The examples over here are terylene, that is Dacron, nylon 6,6, nylon 6, etc. For instance, nylon 6,6 is made by compression of hexamethylene diamine with adipic acid. Now, next in this is arrangement as per the molecular surfaces. Numerous polymer uses in diverse arenas be governed by their exclusive power driven functions such as tensile strength, resistance, durability, etc. These mechanical functions are ruled by intermolecular forces, example van der Waals forces, and hydrogen bonds existing in the polymer. These powers also fix the polymer chains. Below this group, the polymers are categorized into subsequent 4 subgroups as per the extent of intermolecular forces existing in them. So, we have elastomers. These are elastic such as solids with elastic functions. In these elastomeric polymers, the polymer chains are kept close by the weakest intermolecular forces. These weak joining forces allow the polymer to be stretched. An insufficient cross-link present among the chains which aid in polymer to withdraw to its unusual location after the strength is removed in the sample, such as vulcanized rubber. The other samples include Buna S, Buna N, neoprene, etc. The second in this category are fibers. Fibers are the yarn founding objects which have great tensile strength and extraordinary modulus. These features can be credited to the tough intermolecular forces such as hydrogen bonding. These strong powers achieve close packing of chains and thus report crystalline nature. For example, we have polyamides, that is nylon 6,6, and polyesters such as sterylene. The next in the category is thermoplastic polymers. These are the right or to some extent diverged long chain particles accomplished of recurrently unstiffening on warming and toughening on refrigerating. These polymers own intermolecular forces of attraction in between elastomers and fibers. Some common examples are polyethylene, polystyrene, polyvinyls, etc. And lastly, we have thermosetting polymers. A thermosetting polymer is one that can be unstiffened by warming and then fashioned into a preferred form by spread over force. Thermosetting polymers become everlastingly hard at raised temperatures and compressions. These polymers are cross-linked or deeply separated molecules that on warming experience widespread cross-linking in moles and again become infusible. These cannot be recycled. Some usual samples are bakelite, urea formaldehyde resins, etc. Under this we have high density polyethylene, that is HDPE. It comprises mainly of linear molecules and has a developed density, more flexibility, superior power and a greater melting point. And the other low density polyethylene, that is LDPE. It has branched chain structure. It is waxy, semi-rigid, luminous substance with a low boiling point. Now we move to polymer synthesis. There are two major types of polymer synthesis, that is two major types of polymerization approaches applied to transform monomers into polymers. These approaches were initially mentioned to as addition and condensation polymerization. Addition polymerization is now known as chain growth or chain reaction polymerization, whereas condensation is now referred to as step growth or step reaction polymerization. In the chain reaction polymerization, that is addition, the monomers contain carbon-carbon double bond that can participate in a reaction. Two or more dissimilar monomers are frequently engaged in a chain reaction, which produces a polymer comprising the parallel duplication units. Such a procedure is mentioned to as copolymerization and the resulting product is referred to as copolymer, which we have already discussed. Step reaction polymerization or condensation is a kind of polymerization where molecules join together, losing small molecules. Step reaction polymerizations usually give polymers with adequate molecular weights. Now let us talk about the chemical properties of polymers. Most polymers are organic and designed from hydrocarbon molecules. They consist of extended and flexible chains with a sequence of carbon atoms as a backbone. A functional group linked to a polymer chain generally reacts the same way it would if present in a monomer. The resulting molecular weight is measured by comparative degrees of commencement, propagation, and phases of polymerization. The physical features of polymeric material are influenced by not only molecular weight and shape, but also by molecular assembly. The secondary bonding forces existing in polymers, for example, van der Waals and dipole-dipole, are identical to those present in small molecules. In polymers, however, the electrostatic forces are present and acting between different fragments of the similar molecule. The strength of these bonds increases with increasing polarity and decreases sharply with increasing distance. Biopolymers have long been of interest to material scientists because of their unique structural properties. Three kinds of natural polymers are polysaccharides, proteins and nucleic acids. Proteins play structural or catalytic roles, while polysaccharides provide structural integrity apart from energy storing, and polynucleotides, that is, their natural surroundings, indicate the production of proteins and thus regulate the features of entities. Apart from this, another aspect of biopolymers intriguing to material scientists is the precision with which they are prepared. Biopolymers are polymers that are biodegradable with the act of microorganisms, heat and wetness. There is no particular standard for biodegradation. Biopolymers are made from biomass. Increased use of biopolymers would decrease the reliance on fossil fuels. Biopolymers with interesting material properties can be prepared from a diverse range of methods, including natural processes and traditional chemical reactions. The natural procedures for constructing biopolymers range from synthesis in genetically engineered bacterial hosts, applicable primarily to proteins, to the application of enzymes to modify natural substrates for subsequent polymerization, or for reactions on polymers synthesized by traditional chemical reactions. As efficient synthetic methods continue to develop, it is expected that the material applications for biopolymers will become more widespread. In contrast to conventional synthetic polymers that display a supply of monomer orders and molecular weights, proteins and nucleic acids are of distinct extent and have specifically determined monomer sequences. Genetic engineering permits the reliability of protein combination to create new polymers having exactly well-defined chemical and physical properties. The arrival of recombinant DNA technology has contributed greatly to the investigation of natural polymers as materials. Most of the living world is based on polymers. They can be found in animals, such as hydrocarbons, proteins, fats, nucleic acids, etc., in plants such as cellulose, oils, starch and even polyesters, as well as in lower organisms. Natural polymers are produced in the growth cycles of cells of living organisms. Their synthesis includes enzyme catalyzed polymerization reactions of activated monomers, which occur within cells as products of complex metabolic processes. For materials created by nature, it applies that they can also be degraded by nature. All the natural polymers represent stored energy and matter which releases via decomposition, that is metabolism, and is made available for reuse. For natural polymers, there are enzymatic systems for their degradation. Invisible generally present and almost always active disintegrants of natural organic materials are microorganisms such as bacteria, algae. Microorganisms have through evolution adapted to natural polymers as well as to other natural substances and have developed methods for metabolism. They can again degrade polymers to their basic building blocks. Some of the natural polymers are cellulose, starch, agar, etc. Proteins of designed sequence and with specific chemical functions conferred by the incorporation of unnatural amino acids have been prepared in genetically engineered bacteria. Polyesters, beneficial as recyclable thermoplastics, have been prepared in microbial hosts and more recently in transgenic plants. Polysaccharides, prepared either chemically or enzymatically, are being used for biomedical uses, and synthetic polynucleotides could ultimately function as scaffolds in the creation of nanoscale materials. With biosynthesis, polymers are formed in a manner identical to the natural ones. Many microorganisms in nature synthesize, for example, polyester substance for energy storage. On an industrial scale, this is fermentation of sugar, that is glucose, under the influence of microorganisms and under optimal conditions, so as to ensure the effective formation of large quantities of polyester. It is therefore a natural polymer, but its production is closely controlled. Therefore, we consider its source artificial. Chemosynthetic polymers are usually derived from oil. These are polymers which do not occur in nature as such, and therefore, when they end up in the natural environment, they there represent a durable foreign object, since they will not be incorporated into the natural cycle. In contrast to conventional synthetic polymers that display a circulation of monomer arrangements and molecular weights, proteins and nucleic acids are of well defined extent and have exactly identified monomer sequences. For efficient examination and interpretation of results, the most important initial step is to appropriately collect the evidence. The gathering of good samples is one of the utmost critical parts of a successful analysis. The location of the samples and their movements should be detailed and recorded through the whole sample collection, transportation and analysis stages of the investigation. The precise examination of polymers can be determined by the gathering of high quality samples, well planned and effective sample preparation procedures that are suited to the methods of analysis. The preparation of samples for analysis requires a thorough understanding of the behavior of the various types of chemicals in different samples, both before and during the sample preparation, and an awareness of the limitations of the chosen instrumental method of analysis. Samples and prepared subsamples need to be appropriately labeled, and preparation procedures should follow endorsed standard procedures. Continuity of all samples and subsamples should be recognized and maintained during the analytical aspect of the investigation. For the forensic analyst, it might be essential to identify even the generic subtype of a polymer in a way to verify a match or to gain further information about product and use. Microscopy is the basis for all further examinations of polymers. It is a highly discriminative technique with regard to the morphological features of polymers. The microscopy of various polymers allows identification and discrimination of the physical characteristics, that is the morphological features of natural and synthetic polymers. It also allows discrimination of the different optical characteristics. Let us start with synthetic rubber. Synthetic rubber is vulcanized rubber that is proficient of getting overextended to double its length. However, it returns to its native form as soon as the external stretching force is released. These synthetic rubbers are either homopolymers of 3-butadiene, byproducts, or copolymers of 1,3-butadiene or its byproducts with additional unsaturated monomer. The next in category is phenol formaldehyde polymer. Phenol formaldehyde polymers are the ancient synthetic polymers. These are attained by the compression reaction of phenol with formaldehyde in the existence of either an acid or a base catalytic agent. The third in this category is polyesters. These are the polycondensation products of carboxylic acids and diols. Dacron or terylene is the predominant recognized example of polyesters. Polymers are well-defined high molecular mass macromolecules which consist of repeating structural units, that is monomers. These polymers may be of natural or synthetic origin and are categorized in a number of ways. Almost all combustible substances are either usual or synthetic polymers. Wood is a mixture of 3 natural polymers: cellulose, hemicellulose and lignin. Silk and wool are proteins, another kind of natural polymer. The 6 most common synthetic polymers are polyethylene, polypropylene, polyvinylchloride, polystyrene, polyester and polyurethane. When exposed to heat, polymers undergo an irreversible decomposition caused by breaking of chemical bonds or pyrolysis. Synthetic polymers are a backbone of contemporary life, but nature also forms polymers. They are originating in all existing substances. So, dear students, I hope you have enjoyed the study content of this episode. Polymer is an essential part of human life, be it its involvement in the cellular level or at the daily life. Nature also provides polymers in various forms. So, it could be said that polymer forms a significant part of our life. I believe this topic would kindle an interest within you to learn more about polymers. Now, this is time for your self-study. If you want to learn more for enhancing your knowledge, you may log on to our website www.cec.nic.in. Till then, keep studying, goodbye and stay connected.